Hi guys, so I made a video that going over the fight, but I got copyright strike because I was going actually over the video, and somehow it got triggered and got copyright strike. So these were my thoughts on Namajunas versus Esparza 2, the worst fight in the history of the entire world. This fight, all right. So first of all, let's go into my thoughts going into the fight. So in my previous video, I did say that I did notice like something off in Namajunas. I felt like, obviously she was an established, champion, beating all these people, getting her title back, and obviously fan favorite. We all love her. She's made me cry. She's like super inspiring, etc., etc. But she fell out of my heart in this fight. But I'm gonna get to that. Like I'm not a fan of her anymore. But before this, like legend, like this, that. So I did see in her interviews that she was like a little overconfident, or like there was something about her mindset that I was like, I don't like this. And I did say it in my other videos, like she seems there was just something off. Like she seemed like entitled in a way, and a little bit overconfident, and kind of like too comfortable in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but I was like, I didn't like it. So anyway, I did. You have to go with her, like her winning, just because of her history. But if you look at the history of her before every fight, it was different. So now that I noticed that she was like, her attitude was different this fight, you can't really, there's probably going to be a different outcome. But I think I did say that, I wasn't sure. I don't remember what I actually said, if she was going to win or not, but I probably said she was going to win. Anyway, but I did mention that there was something wrong. So the fight, in quotations, it was the worst fight in the history of the UFC. Like literally almost nothing happened for 25 minutes. That's half an hour of action, quote unquote, and nothing happened. Almost almost nothing. It's like, and we go back to fights like Ngannou, and I don't know which other guy, and even Anderson Silva. I don't remember who was, but there's been a few fights that we are like similar to this, where the fighters are like, don't do anything at all, and but even those ones look better than this. Like that's how little action this fight had, and it was just it wasn't a fight. It was they think that they're being strategic. Like, all right, so we're gonna move into the next point: the safe approach and tricking the system. So Rose Namajunas, she was the champion, and I guess she thought like if she can neutralize everything, just be as safe as possible, just because the fact that she's a champion, like she's gonna get like a little extra, points or whatever, that might like she had the advantage with the judges because she's loved, because she's the champion, and so in that way she's kind of like tricking the system. Like she's not really like fighting. Like, yeah, this is a fight, and I think like this is not only a fight, this is a fight to the death. As close to a fight to the death as we can get, without it being like too brutal, or too gory or whatever. Like obviously we can't use weapons, whatever. There's like certain rules, like you can't hit the cup, and stuff like that. But besides that, it's basically a fight to the death. You're choking people out, and it's a simulated fight to the death. So we have rules because it's a sport. It has to have some type of rules, but we're simulating a fight to the death. Who's gonna win a fight to the death? And what bothers me is when these fighters take it like a sport, and instead of making it a fight, they try to game the system to win out, win. And that's kind of like pathetic because I guess if you're doing it because of the money, I can maybe understand it because, you have to win to make the money. But, Rose is a millionaire, and she has a huge fan base. She's a legend. She's, one of the most famous fighters, ever. She like the fact that the point is that using this like safe approach that we've seen like Greg Jackson, with John Jones, like this like super safe, like really moving back and forth, like escaping all the damage, like just trying to like win out a decision. For me, that's repulsive, and it should be like some type of punishment for that, because there, the fight should be right. So I'm gonna move into to this one, fight and combat values. Like, fighting and combat has values such as like other things have values. For example, the value of aggressiveness is a higher value in combat than the value of being like afraid or being, to like being afraid. Like fearlessness in a fight is a higher value than fearfulness. Aggressiveness is a higher value than being afraid to engage or being too extremely defensive. All these things, like there's certain values, and when you take like this extremely safe approach, you're basically going to in the lower values. You're going in the negative values of a fight, because there are a higher way. Like, yeah, you can win in a safe way, but you can also win in a spectacular, aggressive, dominant way. That's another value. Dominant. Being dominant in a fight is a higher value than being submissive, right? So if you're a fighter and you talk about legacy, like Rose Namajunas talk about legacy, she talks about all this. Like if she comes out and she's like, you know what, I don't care, I just want to win the fight and take my money. Okay, fine. But she's talking about legacy. She's talking about all these things. She already has like the support and the fan base. Like you can't just we're supporting you. You represent to us all these values of rising to the occasion. All these things. So suddenly you can't change it and think that we're gonna applaud it. And because of fear. Because all of this came from fear. And so but what's disgusting about this fight is that mentality, because in a way it's extremely selfish, because like even Pat Barry's like, you hear those boos, like those that's a good thing. It's like basically you're saying like, fuck the fans, fuck the millions of people watching this, fuck everybody that stands with me for what, that's with me for what I stand before and what I represent. Fuck all that. I'm afraid. I'm gonna take the easy way, and fuck everybody. So how are you gonna expect me to like that? How do you expect me to respect that and applaud that? And so anyway, Carla Esparza wins. I'm actually happy she won, because that would have been, that's a good moral of the story to me. You take the fight in this like trickery, super extremely cautious way, trying to game the system, trying to pull out a decision, being extremely, safe because you're afraid. Because also, like, why, if you're a coach and you tell your fighter like this, like, what are you telling them? You're telling them that they can't fight with them. Like you're saying that your fighter is not capable of winning in a dominant, aggressive way. So that's mindset. That's why are you the champion? Why are you there? So also shame on the coaches, shame on Trevor Whitman, shame on Pat Barry. You know, because this fight was even worse. This is the worst possible fight that could have happened. Because if they would have been in a brawl and, or even if Roses was dominated by the wrestling of Carla, at least we would have respected her, and at least she would have kept her fan base. But I was so disgusted with this fight, and I'm sure everybody was disgusted because it was a betrayal to us. You know, you burned 30 minutes of my time. You know, you don't respect my time. You don't care about my time. You know, and you are a fighter. You know, you're not a normal person. You're a fighter. You know, you're getting paid to fight. You don't fight. You're wasting my time and my money. You know, this is a pay-per-view. What about all the people that paid to see her fight? You know, you don't care about them. So anyway, extremely disgusting fight, and so the moral of the story: I'm happy Carla won, because if Namajunas won, the moral of the story is that you can't pull off like a cheap win, manipulative, tricking the system type of fight, and that would have sent like a message to the whole UFC, because there's a ton of fighters that have this approach, you know, trying to be extremely safe, not risking anything, not putting themselves on risk. It's like, you're a fighter, you know, you should want to be as ferocious as possible, you know, and these people are not, like, it's just a fear, like, and cowardly approach, and you see that like so many fighters have this approach. That's why when I like look at the fights, I like scroll through them quickly when I see like they're just two people standing in front of each other, just fainting, a punch, faint. I'm like, oh, another one of these like boring, cowardly, you know, playing it safe fighters. You know, you should be ashamed of yourself if you're a fighter and you fight like that. You know, shame on you. You know, and so I'm happy Rose fought. I'm not gonna say I'm like her biggest fan ever. I have her face tattooed on my back. No, I love her. Yes, I'm a big fan. Like everybody, everybody's a big fan of Rose. You know, I'm a big fan of her. You know, I've cried watching her win, but now I'm like, you know, not that I hate her, but I'm like, she lost all that she had in my heart for her because of this betrayal. I see this like a betrayal, and I'm happy she lost, because that sends a message to the entire UFC that this is not a way to fight, you know. And maybe that's what the judges did. Maybe they gave it to Carla because maybe they thought the same thing I'm thinking. You know, why give it to Rose? You know, you're a champion. You don't get any points, or you're not entitled to anything just because you're a champion. Like, you got, like, a champion should represent, you know, somebody that has all of these values, these combat values, you know, this ferociousness, the fearlessness, the confidence, the aggressiveness, putting yourself in risk, like basically what Charles Oliveira did, you know. He had everything on the line. He even got rocked twice. He still went out and KO'd Gaethje, who, by the way, is from the same camp as Namajunas, as you know, who knocked down Oliveira twice and did not pursue him because of fear of his ground game. I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy, you know. I don't know, like, if I'm like a random person and I knock out Charles Oliveira and I have no jiu-jitsu training, then I'm not gonna go down because I have no clue. But you're a UFC fighter. You're supposed to be a champion. You're fighting for the championship. You knock out a guy twice. The guy falls down to the floor. You can't at least try some ground and pound? Like, you're so afraid of his jiu-jitsu. Like, how can it be so much better than you that you're afraid of him? Well, he's like basically just got like knocked out. So that's also like this type of fear mentality. And yeah, at the end, Justin Gaethje lost. So I think if he would have pursued, you know, or gone to the ground after Gaethje knocked him down, if he would have gone on top of Oliveira, he could have won the fight. Maybe some hammer fist, finished the job. The guy's already rocked. How you're jiu-jitsu, like you can get out of it. You're like, he can't be that good that you're afraid of him even knocked out. Like, and why are you so? Why do you even train jiu-jitsu if you're that afraid of a knocked down opponent? So yeah, I understand Charles Oliveira jiu-jitsu is great, but the fear, this is an MMA fight. Go down and fight him on the ground. Like, okay, maybe that's not your number one game plan, but if you knock him out and he goes to the ground, he's maybe not the first time, but the second time, like, try. But no, he's afraid. He's playing it safe, and he gets knocked out. So for me, I'm happy both of them lost. Gaethje, I did predict was gonna lose because, his whole demeanor, he has like a defeatist attitude, and just it's I'm happy when these fighters lose. And even sometimes I have like for example, this fight with Rose, I want her to win. But if you come out and you fight like that, I now want you to lose because you don't deserve to win, So I'm extremely happy, that Rose lost and that, Gaethje didn't have a good performance, but, his attitude was just weak the whole time. And just defeated, just kind of like he has like a kind of like lackadaisical, like, I don't know. I don't like that. Like, if you're gonna be champion, like I want ferociousness. Well, he was good in the fight, but his attitude told me like, this guy doesn't like, he's gonna self-sabotage himself. He doesn't want to win. So even if he knocked down Oliveira, which he did, he's gonna find a way to lose, and that's what happened. He lost. And so very happy for Oliveira, but yeah, going back to this horrible, terrible, disgraceful fight. The post-fight interview, like Namajunas is like, oh, I felt they won. What the fuck? How can you feel that? Like, let's go back to Khamzat versus Gilbert Burns. Hamzat was trying to knock Gilbert Burns' head off the entire fight. He loses by decision, right? Like, they have many people said like, this is gonna be the fight of the year, right? Great fight, insanely entertainment, 5 rounds of action. Everybody, like, there was a point in that fight where it was so much action that there was like, suddenly the entire arena just shouted. There wasn't anything like extremely exciting happening in that precise moment, but the arena was so excited that they just shouted like, ah, like everybody, like, it was a point where the background noise from the arena was so loud because the fight was so good. Now Hamzat wins the fight by decision, and then in the post fight like scenes, or like, he's like, I feel bad because I couldn't finish him. He had an amazing fight. He wins the decision, and still he's sad that he did not finish Burns. Now, to me, that's the perfectly correct attitude, because that means that Hamza was not powerful or strong or intelligent or whatever enough to take him out in I don't know if it was I think it was a 5-round fight. I don't remember if it was a 3-round or 5-round, but anyway, it wasn't enough time to like, he couldn't get the job done, so he was ashamed of himself. And now let's look at Rose. Worst fight in the history of the sport, loses to a decision, and still says that she felt like she won the fight, and she feels that she should have gotten that decision, and then says that she's happy with herself. Compare those two things together. That's why Rose Namajunas, I'm extremely disappointed with her. She's nothing to me anymore. Like, She went from legendary status to like disgraceful. Like she's nothing to me as a fighter. As a person, yeah, she's fine. But so those are my thoughts on this fight. Disgraceful, disgusting, pathetic, weak. Any negative thing this fight was, and I can understand you. Maybe like when you're there, you have like jitters or whatever, and maybe you get like into a bad mindset, and then after the fight, you're like, oh my god, I don't know what happened. Like I wasn't myself. Like you know, I. I lost, or something happened. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry for this terrible fight. But she goes on and says, she's like, I'm happy for this fight. And then she says, I should have won this fight. Like, and then she says, how can she be a champion with that performance? Like, talking about Carla, like, how can you win a championship with that performance? What the fuck? That's exactly the same you did. Like, both of you are disgraceful champions, Carla as well. I'm just not talking about her because I didn't expect anything from her because nobody cares, about her, and and I'm also like I'm also like this is the worst win ever. I think it's even worse than Aljamain pretending to, acting with Peter Jan. I think this is worse because Aljamain at least tried. They at least tried. They at least put themselves in risk. So, well, yeah, he acted and he won. Well, at least the fight was, there was a fight. But Carla winning this way, it was even worse than that. Worse than Aljamain. So, shame on Carla Esparza too. Shame on her name. I mean, even like, she's like, oh, I'm happy because I'm going to get... because we all hated that fight, we all thought that was like pathetic and disgraceful. So, yeah, you got the belt, but like you lost points every other way. Like because nobody's gonna be going to you like, wow, like amazing, like you won. Like, did you win? Like what? Nobody knows if you really won or not. Like we all hated that fight. So yeah, you got the belt. You won in a disgraceful manner. Then she says like, yeah, like it's hard to fight somebody that doesn't want to fight. You didn't want to fight. Both of you didn't want to fight. Because sometimes this happens. Like, sometimes you get like fighters that are extremely safe, but they fight against somebody that's like, has like another mentality, like an actual fighter's mentality, wanting to put on a fight, be ferocious. So one is ferocious and the other one is safe. But in this case was the worst case scenario when both are safe, both don't care about, about just being like, aren't you ashamed of just standing there? Like, aren't you ashamed of everybody's booing you? Like, that's why it's disappointing as a fan that you blocked us out. You didn't care about us. You didn't care about even yourself. Like, it was just disgraceful in every way. Like, you should have felt like after the first. But the thing is that the worst part was the coaching because the coaches were also afraid. They didn't have any, like, Pat Barry was like, yeah, you're doing great. Like, you hear those boos, that's good. You hear those people, all those people hating you and you losing your fans every second of this fight. That's good. Keep doing that. And then Rose kind of like for example, why can't I say his name? Kazmat, Hamzat, and his coach kind of wanted like a more, not like a little bit less crazy fight, but still fight. And Hamzat just went out and wanted to fight. So we love that, and even if he would have gotten knocked out, we still love it. But now Rose Namajunas is like, I'm not going to tune into her next fight. I don't give a fuck about her until she wins me back, as a fan. Like, you got to make me want to, I don't want to lose. Like, that's 30 minutes of my time you wasted. That's a huge loss for me, So, because not only like, yeah, I can be in a park, sit in a bench and spend 30 minutes doing nothing, but I'm 30 minutes like waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to happen, nothing happens, waiting for something. Maybe the KO's right now. Maybe something's gonna happen right now. Maybe no, nothing. Maybe okay, maybe the third round they're gonna pick no, nothing. Maybe this back and forth in my mind is what's like disgraceful that they made me pass through this. And and I'm happy she lost. Good on the sport that she lost. Sends a message: you can't be too cautious, or you're gonna lose. You know, and they should have gotten more like, yeah. Dana White talks shit about Francis Ngannou because he had an uneventful fight, but he doesn't talk shit about this because they're women and well he loves Rose, but he should have said what this was disgraceful. Disgraceful, disgusting, pathetic. Every negative word, was this fight, and it will go down as the worst fight in UFC history, and unless we get another, like, how can it be worse than this? This is the worst fight ever. I would have preferred that they sit down and talked in the middle of the octagon and talked, or I don't know, run around in circles or do jumping jacks. Like, this was just terrible. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Bye.